Okay, good morning, Melissa. This is what we're going to do. Take our flux, put our brush in it, and we're going to make sure we don't have too much flux on the brush. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put our flux down our solder line and down our copper foil lines. My iron is hot. This is my cheapie. My tip is cleaned. I have a Pro Soldering Iron Controller, and my power is up to about 9, number 9 on it. 5 may seem like it's too hot on your controller, but it may not be giving your soldering iron enough power, and that's why your bead freezes halfway through. Your iron gets too cold. And I hold my whole pound of solder in my hand. I just do. And I pull out about 8 inches of the solder. That way it doesn't get hot in my hand. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little bit of solder down on all 4 areas to keep it from separating when I solder, right? Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I did not add any more flux to my brush. I'm just using it as it was a second ago. It's resting on my, it's resting that way, okay? All right, so when I go to solder, I am going to be dragging my solder tip. It's going to be down. It's going to be making contact, and I'm going to be dragging it, okay? Now, if you'll notice, let's see, a better angle here. Start here. I do not use my whole tip for running my solder bead. I'm using the edge of this tip right here to go down. Okay, so I'm going to rest it down there, and I'm going to add my solder. And as I go, I'm pulling my solder along. Now, as I'm going to get to the end of this, I don't want my solder to run off over the edge. So when I get to the end, I'm going to pull my tip in this way. See how it stopped the solder right there from going over the edge? Do the same thing here. Now, if you're going to put lead or zinc around your piece when you're done soldering, you don't want to go all the way to the edge of your glass. You want to start a little bit in so that it doesn't interfere with that border piece, right? You follow what I'm saying? I did take it all the way to the edge here, but if you wanted the same effect, you would have stopped a little shorter and pulled your iron in, right? Okay, and I'm going to start over here. Same thing. I'm using the tip, and I'm going to now drag my solder, and as I get closer to the center, I'm going to stop feeding it solder, and then carry on. To the end, and again, bring it that way so I don't go running over. Now at this point, wherever you're not happy with your solder lines, you can go back in and touch up, right? Remember, your iron is not paintbrush, so you don't want to be doing this, okay? That's not what we want to do. We want to go down, let everything melt around it, and pull back up, down, and up. Down and up. See that? See how it levels itself? It will level itself down and up as it melts to both sides of the tip of your iron. See that? Down and up. Solder will level itself when it's melted, when it's molten. Okay? Down, up. There you go, down and up. Give it time to melt. Down and up, okay? Now, if you're having trouble running a bead, there's another way you can do this. Let's do that on the back. Let's go ahead and flex it. Now, mind you, I have not dipped this brush back into the flux at all. It's resting on top of my flux, you know, it's resting here. It hasn't touched that flux again since the first time we put it in there. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to put some solder down. I'm going to pull my iron up. Okay, I'm going to go about this far away, do the same thing, and I'm going to let let it melt. And then between these two areas, I'm going to go down gently and up gently. Look at that. Okay, let me go over here. Again, I'm going to kind of make a line here. And then I'm going to go between these two areas, lay it down and straight up. Lay my head of my tip on it, melt it, and come straight up. Gently, pull gently up. Okay? It's another way to get your bead going, okay? Go ahead and get it that way. When I first started stained glass, this is how somebody showed me to get my bead, because I just couldn't run it in the beginning. Maybe it was just lack of confidence. Bring it down that way because it's getting a little heavy there. See that? There we go. Okay. Don't work an area too long. You can crack your glass, can melt through to the other side. And then you end up with a big ugly puddle on the other side, and that can crack your glass too. So we're going to go ahead and see how I'm giving it plenty of time to melt into itself all the way around. Solder is a metal. It needs a minute to liquefy. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and again, my tip is back on edge when I'm running that bead. Okay. See how I pulled some solder off and brought it over there without it dripping all over the place? Here's a tip on solder in your iron. Solder will remain on the tip of your iron as long as your handle is level with your tip. Okay? If it's, I'm trying to find a, if it's level, if they're both level, solder will stay on your tip and it won't drip off for the most part. Okay? If you want to release that solder, you simply make the tip lower than the handle, right? That's your gravity feed. Okay, if you want to pick that back up, put it down there, and your handle, again, is level with your tip, and it will hold that solder. As soon as you put it, the handle higher than the tip, it will drip back off. Okay? So that's kind of how you control your solder drips and stuff. Okay? So if I got a big old glob of, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making a mess. Solder here. I want to pull it around to level it out, right? I'm going to bring it in this way so I don't drip over the edge. Okay, we're controlling our solder, right? I'm using this edge of my tip. Okay, I want it a little nicer in the center here. That's yucky. So again, I'm going to go down, let it melt, come back up. Go down, melt. As I'm going this way, I'm using the whole top of my tip to do this, okay? As I'm cleaning it up, using the whole width of the top of my tip. Okay. You see your glass get a little bit hazy? That's the heat. Go away. Okay, now we're going to do an edge. So let's tin this. So if you're going to do a rounded edge around a sun catcher or something, you're going to want to tin your edge. Right, just make it silver. Again, here we go. We put a little bit of solder on our tip, and we're holding it because our handle is parallel. So we don't have the drips all over the place, right? And right now, my handle is just a little bit higher than my tip as I tin. Now, if you're going to put that edge on your piece, tin both sides before you do that. The funny thing about solder is it attracts to itself, right? So that will make it a lot easier. My handle was level with my tip when I was pulling that solder off the spool. Okay, I just now dipped my flex brush a little bit in the flux. It's feeling a little dry. Okay, again, my handle and my tip are level. Now my tip is higher, and it's releasing the solder on the edges, right? Okay. A little more. Okay, now you got both sides tinned. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to the edge. since it doesn't have lead going around it. Clean that up a little, okay. Let it dry before we move our glass, okay. Now my spool is holding my solder. I'm going to make it where it's easy for me to pull solder. Setting it up. All right. So now I'm going to hold my piece. So I've flexed that edge. I've got both sides tinned, right? And I'm going to go to my solder, handle even, so that I grab my solder without dripping it all over the place. And I'm going to lay it out on the edge of the glass. Now my glass is 90 degree up and down, right? And level. So did you see I just laid that down there? My solder released. Again, handle is level with the tip. Now my tip is lower than the handle as I put it out here. Okay, let's do that again. Let me, if I can, you can see that better. Okay. So you don't really need a third arm to do anything. Your hand is holding your project. Your solder is being held in place by the spool, right? Your other hand is holding your soldering iron. Okay. Little dab will do ya. Okay, there you go. And let's let it dry a second. I want more of a bead coming. Well, the bead looks pretty good. I don't know how well the phone is picking that up. There's a bead on both sides. Put more solder on if you want a heavier bead. You don't want to work it too much because yes, your oil can let loose. Okay, and there's a little heavier bead now on your edge, okay? Okay, and so forth all the way around. That's what you do all the way around. So I covered, I think, everything I wanted to. Tin the edges, rounded edges, handle above tip, release solder, handle and tip level. It holds the solder. Yeah, I'm going to say that again about your soldering iron controller. You were saying 5 was too hot, 4 was too cold. I'm going to say probably go a little hotter, even maybe to a 7 or an 8, because, well, try your 5 first. But if your iron gets cold, it's not getting enough watts to your iron, because that's all that this controller does, is it controls the watts to your iron. So you may think it's too hot and it really isn't. You may have just been, with using 60/40, it's a lot more liquid. You know, it runs a lot more than the 50/50. I use 60/40 when I have it, but I don't go out of my way to buy it. I like 50/50. And that's pretty much it, okay? You can do touch-ups where you want to do touch-ups. This is 7/32 foil I used on here, same foil you're using. And your iron is at about a 45-degree angle, maybe when I'm running that tip along the edge. It's about, yeah, it's about that angle to your glass. This would be 90-degree. This would be about the angle I'd be putting it at, okay? I hope that helps you. If not, let me know and we'll figure it out. See you later.